rivals, the Boston Bruins. Now, Les Habitants will reach deep into their bag of tricks as they take on the Patrick Division champions and go for their second cup title in 4 years. The Stanley Cup Conference Finals on Sports Channel.
Coming in May.
27 to enjoy NHL hockey. Great goaltending.
With the glove. Peters with a glove save. Save! Hextall.
Get the action, reaction. Watch NHL.
Start this period at full strength. Mellenby will be the right winger, Prop on the left, and Sutter at center. Chychrun and Kartner the defense. Corson with Gainey and Richer. And the defense, Chelios working along with Ludwig. Puck taken by Brian Prop and rolled by Chelios behind. Roy is there and scoops it back over to Chris Chelios and then across to Gainey. Bob Gainey leading it back up ice. Jabs one to the corner, and Chychrun backs in. It is Hextall to swing it along. Brian Prop able to nudge it along to Ron Sutter, who goes down with Chelios. Turning for it, Terry Kartner kicked it along to Stefan Richer. Richer for the Canadiens, drops it back to Ludwig, then across to Bob Gainey. Gainey hooks it along, and Chelios is there. Nudges it along to Richer. Big drive, and a pad stop made by Hextall. Mellenby has it for the Flyers, controlling back up and driving one off the rail wide. Puck taken by Chelios, finesses it through to Gainey, a 3-on-3. Gainey moving in with a shot that is blocked away by Hextall. Turned by Samuelson, right back into Gainey again. Picking it off is Richer. Richer pivoting, starts to move to the front, but it's brushed away by Mark Howe. Mellenby trying to stride back out, but is able to pull away. Shunts it back to Shell Samuelson, but that hit off Howe. Then drilled around by Samuelson, and it comes near Secord, but offside is called to stop the clock with 1:14 off the clock here in the third. 1-0 Flyers.
You know, you're looking at the only guy in this Montreal team, Stefan Richer, that really doesn't fit into the mold. He is a finesse kind of guy that doesn't do that much back checking, but he's got a shot that can break a game open, and what a shot he took on Ron Hextall. That was a save that Ron Hextall made look easy. That wasn't easy. But Stefan Richer is Montreal's game breaker.
Of 11 Montreal wins in the playoffs, Richer has the winning goal in 3. And he and Rob Brown of the now eliminated Pittsburgh Penguins have the league lead in that department. As Howe connects on with Keith Acton. A pass tipped by Secord off of Peter Svoboda, and after him is Kerr. Svoboda able to hop away from Al Secord. Dumps it along for Lemieux. Then it's Svoboda spinning one that went back off Green. Ahead with this is McPhee, advancing it back up now to Skrudland. Skrudland sized up by Samuelson, flips one in front, and Lemieux couldn't reach it as Howe was there. Now it's McPhee, tries to center, and Mark Howe able to check it away. Rolls it along at Acton there, stepped in too solidly by Lemieux, but not until he'd gotten it ahead to Secord and then on to Tim Kerr. Kerr watched on the play. Flipped that one in deep, and it hopped away from Secord. McPhee goes back in, and Dave Poulin jousts with him. Now it is McPhee muscling Poulin off the puck. Taking it is Peter Svoboda. Svoboda just gliding back out. Now blasts one that ricocheted off Wells. Hops back over to Murphy. And with now 2.5 minutes gone in the third period of play, Murphy to Sinisalo, whose one-time pass flagged down by Naslund and steered to Robinson. Puck brought on by Jay Wells. Wells moving along. Couldn't send one to the front because of Desjardins. It's punched right out to Sinisalo, a backhander into the chest of Roy, as Sinisalo was left all alone at the front. Here comes Bobby Smith, moving along with Keane. Smith got away from the hip check attempt of Wells, but did go down, and so it's played right back to Chris Chelios. Chelios up the wing for Naslund. That ricocheted off him and is taken by Murphy. Murphy turning, hands it back along to Derek Smith, and then it's behind Poulin, along for Sinisalo, but going back to get it is Robinson. Larry Robinson with a pass that is taken back up by Chelios, and that knocked away from him by Sutter. Driven back toward Chychrun, taken by Mellenby, but off the skate of Sutter. Prop tries to recover and does. Here's Prop moving in with Kartner, fed it across, and Kartner hit the post, and the rebound sees the the net, apparently dislodged. The whistle of the referee, Dennis Morrell, was blown. He was tangled up in all that, too.
Came oh so close to giving the Flyers a cushion that they would really dearly love to have right now. Perfect feed from Brian Propp to Terry Karkner. Bing! Right off the top of the post, and it came right back down to Patrick Roy. But watch this pass from Brian Propp. Picture perfect. Matt Naslund was on Karkner. Not on him enough. He still got good wood on it, but it couldn't get by Patrick Roy.
Chelios able to step away from the forechecking of Craig Berube. Chelios and Ludwig the defense. Walter makes the sweep far corner as Chelios controls. Ludwig, Portnoy, and Carbonneau the front line. On now comes Portnoy. Ran right into Walter, and that play breaks down. Now it is Howe dumping it behind to Samuelson, and his pass floated back out and through the legs of Ludwig, so Chelios will have to go back after it. Mike Bullard is the forechecker as Chelios waits behind. Little pass comes over to Ludwig, advances it back out to Guy Carbonneau. Carbonneau tried to flip it through Howe, then shouldered him down. Samuelson tried to flip it ahead, and it is taken by Ludwig and fired, and it went wide. Berube able to chop it back out. I thought perhaps the Flyers would get at least a hand pass call that time, but play continued as Walter scoops one ahead. Now Carbonneau starting back in. Karkner tried to knock it from him. Carbonneau pawed up along the boards by Karkner. Now it's Ryan Walter pestered by Bullard in the puck to Courtnall. Courtnall checked by Al Secord. Courtnall to Svoboda, and that one ricocheted off Samuelson and went back out. Chris Chelios turning. Teams at even strength. 15-20 left in the third. Svoboda trying to get by Samuelson around in front. Couldn't get a shot away. It is Tim Kerr tapping one back out. Still locked up are Svoboda and Karkner as it came right to Karkner. And now we get the whistle on the delayed offside. And Svoboda helmetless. And Karkner having words.
Well, Peter Swoboda was around Shel Samuelson on his scoring chance, but he never was able to get his stick loose. He locked sticks with the big Flyers defenseman and never got a shot away, and when he went down, he really paid a price from Terry Karkner. You can see him just retrieving his helmet. Karkner kept his head punched right down onto the ice. Watch Samuelson right there. See how they locked sticks? And Swoboda never got his shot away. You saw Terry Karkner take him down to the right of your screen.
Watch the change in lines that will have Richer moving along with Corson and Gainey, Svoboda and Green. As Pat Burns looks on, he allowed his team the luxury of not having to stay in hotels, even in Montreal during the playoffs. All they have to do is meet in the evening for a team meal. And in the past history of the Canadiens, they always were out of town at one of the hotels in Montreal whenever they were playing here in the city. But that's something that has changed this year with Pat Burns. On now with this comes Chychrun. A pass that ricocheted off Corson and by Kerr. Roy out to stop it. Swings it along. It glanced by Kerr and is taken by Gainey. He's got Richer striding with it. Bob Gainey moves it on ahead. Controlling, just dropped it in deep in Hextall there. Right near him is Corson. Hextall able to flip it by, and it went by Secord and down. Scoreboard clock ticks down to 14:35 to go in the third. One shot for the Flyers thus far, two shots for the Canadiens through the first 5.5 minutes of play in this third period. It is Svoboda turning it along now to Richer. Richer building up ahead of steam as he hits center ice. Moves to the Murphy side. Richer couldn't finesse Gord Murphy, the rookie defenseman. Sends it back up to Poulin. Canadiens in the midst of a change as Poulin moves in. Hammers one, and it went just wide. Back to Sinisalo. Dumps it back along the boards to Poulin. Centered one, and the puck squibbed off a fallen Derek Smith. It appeared right in on goal, and Smith upset that there is no call. 14:01 to go in the third period, and this game still is 1-0 Flyers. Let's pause for a regional break. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on Sports Channel.
The Smythe Division champion Calgary Flames. They were pushed to the brink by an upstart Vancouver Canucks team. It took an overtime overtime goal in Game 7 to put them in a series with Wayne Gretzky and the Los Angeles Kings. The Flames responded by using the talent and muscle that got them the league's best overall record in the regular season. They crushed the Kings in 4 straight. Now they take on the champions of the Norris Division in an attempt to reach the Cup Final for the second time in 4 years. The Stanley Cup Conference Finals on Sports Channel.
Off the tie-up, Berube fought his way to the front and was canceled out by Robinson. And then a second time, as Robinson's pass back-checked away by Bullard, shoveled back in deep by Eklund, but Robinson turns to take it. Desjardins, Skrudland, checked by Berube. Samuelson turns it on to Eklund, drove it back in near Roy, scooped it back to Lemieux. Cut off by Eklund and flipped off the glove of Desjardins, but again it's Lemieux countering and Samuelson answering that. That's squibbed off the glass and is taken by Robinson. Gives it across to Eric Desjardins, moves it right back up ice, wraps one around the glass. It comes near McPhee, but it's knocked away by Bullard. Then Howe wraps it, but off the backhand stick of Berube. Desjardins scoops it back over to Craig Ludwig. Connects back on with McPhee. Checked off by Samuelson, and Eklund laid it back. 13:05 to go in the third period. McPhee with it. Steers it ahead to Skrudland. Gets away from a diving Mellenby. Taps one to the corner for Lemieux. He goes in, but is denied by Kartner. Kartner banks it back along, and here come the Flyers again. Mellenby on to Sutter. Couldn't get by Naslund. Chychrun follows up. Moves on in. Gave it to Mellenby, and a shot, and a pad stop made by Roy. Rolled back along for Ron Sutter. Has a fight on his hands with Chelios. Sutter over to Mellenby. Mellenby set it up and dropped the shot. And getting a piece of that with his pad was Roy. Flyers with a good attack now, but it breaks down as Chychrun had to control at center ice and then flipped it out of play. Flyers continue with their attack, and they got some good chances on Patrick Roy, but could not get it through.
You said it. Still good chances for the Flyers, but they can't get any bigger cushion than this 1-0 lead. The clock is ticked down to 12 minutes and 32 seconds. We're in the third period of Game 5 of the Wales Conference Finals. There's Scott Mellenby's chance, but Roy just seems like a giant wall when Scott Mellenby gets the puck.
Play back in as Peter Svoboda has it for the Canadiens. Hacks one around the board. Stepping toward this is Murphy. And it is gloved down by Naslund, and a delayed offside is finally whistled down, and they'll move this all the way back down. And the call is icing. We thought initially it was going to be because the Canadian was in the zone, but we'll check that, and icing is the call against Montreal. As you see, the smallest Viking, Max Naslund. He sits at the bench, and coming out to take his place will be a combination of forwards that will have Carbonneau, Walter, and Courtnall, with Svoboda and Green. Dave Poulin with Sinisalo to the right, Derek Smith to the left. Left defense, it'll be Wells, and the right defense, Murphy. Fans talking it up as it is Walter turning it loose back to Green. That blocked away by Poulin. Picked up by Derek Smith, and Smith checked off by Ryan Walter. Smith nudged one toward the front, but Roy will hang on to that one. With 12:11 to go in the third, another face-off near Patrick Roy.
Still good pressure by the Poulin line. Ilka Sinisalo has used his body pretty well tonight, as well as Derek Smith and Dave Poulin. Pat Burns still in his 4-line rotation. Paul Holmgren still in his 4-line rotation here in the third period. You wonder at what point in a hockey game Montreal tries to open things up and maybe try some lower percentage plays. Well, they've only got one goal to close this gap, so you know that Pat Burns isn't going to do anything different. I don't know if they ever would.
We'll keep an eye on that for you just to see if there are any alterations down the line here. If the score remains the same, you'd certainly expect it, but a long way from that with 12:11 to go in the third. Acton on the draw with Walter, shovels it back to Samuelson, flipped one that went off of Acton, and it is flipped by Svoboda, but back to Kerr. Then over to Secord. He's hit from behind by Walter. Kerr trying to take it away. Tim Kerr to the front with a pass, and Green was there to get it. Green drops it back off now to Bobby Smith. Can't get it through Acton, and Keith Acton can control for the Flyers. Back to Samuelson. Then on to Kerr. He's got Secord up the wing. Drive high off of Roy. It sounded as though it struck his mask or the helmet part of it. Puck turned right back to the corner to Kerr. Hands over to Acton. Poke checked away. Peter Svoboda starts to move back up ice. And ahead with it comes Keane. Mike Keane tries to bump his way by Samuelson, and Samuelson throws him down. We have an offside call, and our immediate attention shifts back to Patrick Roy, who seems okay and is gliding out for a skate. We'll return in a moment. Let's pause for a regional break. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoff on Sports Channel.
The Norris Division champion Chicago Blackhawks. This is the Cinderella team of the playoffs. This scrappy group of veterans and their fearless leader made the playoffs on the final night of the regular season. They knocked off a heavily favored Detroit squad and put the Blues back in St. Louis with tight checking, superb goaltending, and timely goal scoring. They are just one giant step away from reaching the Cup Finals for the first time since 1973. The Stanley Cup Conference Finals on Sports Channel.
What a game fight by these Flyers tonight. They have the lead with 11 and a half to go. Another shot directed on goal, this time by Desjardins, and Hextall made that stop. And the stops by both goaltenders look bigger and bigger as time passes. The Flyers aren't able to open up any more than a 1-0 lead. The Canadiens, when this game was 0-0, had some good chances that Hextall negated, and that may be the real saving grace for the Flyers here tonight if they're able to win it. Desjardins goes striding back, and Sutter right on him. Desjardins tried to drop it off, and Sutter chopped it away. In comes Matt Snaslin, and then Chychrun freight trains him down from behind. Still the battle on. Desjardins holds off Sutter, and they squirm away. It's Tromp with a shot. Oh, and it's snapped out of the air by Roy. He was trying low short side, and it looked as though he had some room, but it was quickly closed up by Roy's glove.
You know, this is about as big a test as Patrick Roy's faced. You can see at the top middle of your screen, Desjardins and Ron Sutter really going at it. But this Flyers pressure, since they have taken the lead, the second period was Flyers with better pressure. The third period has the Flyers pressuring. There's Desjardins and Ron Sutter along the boards. But Patrick Roy has been able to hold Montreal close.
Well, Walter and Bullard will take this draw, and every draw important, especially as you get down to the last few minutes of a game. We are still a good distance from that. We have 10:49 to go.
This is one of the four lines that Paul Hogan has settled on. He has got Mike Bullard out there, he has Kelly Eklund, and he has Craig Berube. And Berube has taken a regular shift in the second half of this game. One of the reasons why the Flyers have a lead. Paul Holmgren firmly believes, and I do as well, Craig Berube won't hurt you defensively at all. If you need a goal, he might be a guy you have to keep on the bench. That's what we were talking about, being able to utilize all your four lines when you have a lead.
That doesn't look like the dewlap part. The clear plastic part of Roy's mask is quite right. But he has motioned the game to continue anyway. I saw a strap hanging down and didn't get much of an impression as to what the problem really was, but it just didn't seem to be acting right, as Gainey is taken out of the play by Shell Samuelson. Now moving in is Howe. Howe checked off and ridden to the boards by Gainey, but Howe bounced right off and kept playing. A pass on to Eklund. They've got a 2-on-1 with Bullard. Eklund moving up the wing. Has Bullard. Creeps right into Bullard. Pad stop made by Roy. As Mike Bullard had the game on his stick and let go his best, but Patrick Roy came up with a big save there. Man, oh man.
Well, nothing has come easy to the Flyers in this game. That round of applause is for only one guy, and you're looking at him, Patrick Roy. Perfect feed by Eklund. He waited till Ludwig turned, and Craig Ludwig, instead of just backing up, decided to turn. I don't know why, but there's Ludwig. Now he turns, and as soon as he turned, Eklund passed to Bullard, but you saw Bullard's shot went right towards the middle of the net. Nevertheless, Patrick Roy was there with his pad. He had it down low, and he had momentum sliding across to meet Mike Bullard. So the Flyers cling to their one-goal lead.
Well, we had questioned Roy and how much he was showing in value to a Canadiens team that didn't seem to need that much in strong goaltending, but tonight he is the story for Montreal. Otherwise, they're down deep.
It might be more appropriate to say that Montreal is clinging to their one-goal deficit right now.
Here's Chelios to Skrudland. Fires one off the boards. Sinisalo tries to lock up McPhee. Mike McPhee leaned on. Shoved by Sinisalo. The puck to Corson, then back to Ludwig. Hands over to Chelios. His shot deflected into Hextall. And a scramble, and Hextall had it under his glove for a moment, but then it squirted loose, and now we've got some flailing at the net between Jay Wells and Shane Corson.
You know, I think Corson took a shot at Jay Wells' face with his helmet. And that's why Jay Wells came up with the right even after the fact. And Wells turned to the officials and said, did anybody see that? A headbutt is an automatic. Now Derek Smith and Mike McPhee lock up. But I hope we get a good look at this. I could have sworn Shane Corson came down with a helmet to try to butt Jay Wells when they got in tight.
First you saw McPhee and Smith uptight and very personal, and now the linesmen are able to separate Corson from Jay Wells.
It only takes a little nod of the head when you're as close as Corson was to Jay Wells to actually execute a helmet butt. This is after now. This is after the fact. Oh, boy, that one landed. That left came around out of nowhere from Jay Wells and caught Corson flush.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it's all meted out. Corson and Wells are the only two right now that are in the penalty box. We'll get the calls with 9:58 to go in the third. The Flyers lead 1-0. Wells and Corson roughing minors that cancel at 10:02. Flyers trying to send this series back to their fans in Philadelphia for a Game 6. It is Poulin firing it back in. Flyers are leading in the game 1-0 on Derek Smith's goal early in the second. Mellanby a centering pass. Back it comes to Samuelson, trying to keep and does. Flips it along to Mellanby. Brush checked by Skrudland. Mellanby Samuelson again. His shot knocked down by Chelios, and the Canadiens start out a 3-on-2. Richer with Skrudland. Hands back over to him. But offside on the play, and angry about it, Mike McPhee. Canadiens with one of their rare good rushes in the game. And it's canceled on an offside.
You're right, Mike. They haven't had many good rushes, and to nullify it is one of those things that would not only frustrate Pat Burns, but Mike McPhee as well. When he was angry after the whistle blew, it had to be at himself as much as it was at the linesman. For a second, he questioned the call, but then was just angry at himself. So Paul Holmgren, who really to a great degree had the anvil that was resting between his shoulder blades after the regular season lifted with the win over Washington and then with the win over Pittsburgh, is trying to prolong this series. You see the time, 9:33 to go. The Flyers have been strong in the second half of this game.
Matt Naslund moves in. Centered one, and it's turned away by Hextall. Acting up with it, drops it back along to Al Secord in a 2-on-2 with Kerr. Secord tries to shake by Rick Green and can't. Green back for the Canadiens, connects with Naslund, has Bobby Smith alongside. The drop is to Smith, fires, and that's deflected. What rebound? Popped across the goal mouth wide by Naslund. And it's sent away from Swoboda by Kerr. As the Canadiens wheeled in with authority there. 9 minutes to go in the third. Flyers still have the lead 1-0. Tremendous game being played by the Flyers tonight. The Canadiens haven't had the same performance that they did in the prior three. Derek Smith drops it. Desjardins takes it. Connects with Swoboda. Then back ahead to Bobby Smith, sized up by Smith. Bobby Smith able to get away from Derek Smith checking. Tried to deal it back toward an empty point. Naslund is there. Has a duel with Terry Karkner. Back it comes to Bobby Smith. Took some lumber from Derek Smith. Tried to center, and it's knocked away. Karkner gave it up to Naslund again. But right back to Karkner it comes. And this time he spins one that'll come all the way to center zone. 8:15 to go in the third. Naslund drops it back deep, and Jeff Chikrin will go back to get it. Takes the tap from Hextall. Chikrin's pass comes back up to Terry Karkner. Then laid it on for Poulin, but it was canceled out by Walter. Robinson swings it back to Desjardins, and then on to Guy Carbonneau. Carbonneau's pass for Walter checked away by Mellenby. Robinson fights it along, but here come the Flyers again as Prop slips, and Robinson just with a flick of the wrist knocked it down. Now Walter has trouble, and Robinson has to help him, and the Canadiens are reeling a little bit right now. Robinson hands back over to Desjardins, and crisply to Carbonneau, and up the wing to Courtnall. Courtnall holds, fires, 6 save, rebound, poked away. Desjardins moves, but the net has been knocked off its magnets again.
Well, these people can boo all they want. Ron Hextall didn't knock that one off intentionally. What a hockey game. 1-0 the score.
Hi, I'm Larry Robinson of the Montreal Canadiens, with the best reason to enjoy NHL hockey, the Stanley Cup.
The Edmonton Oilers, their first ever Stanley Cup. The shot to Nyson. The Oilers win the Stanley Cup. Champions for the 23rd time.
Get the action, reaction. Watch NHL hockey.
A scary moment for the Flyers. Russ Courtnall, number 6 for Montreal, gets loose on the left side and then pulls the puck back by Shel Samuelson. Gets Goodwood on this shot. Has people going to the net for a rebound. There's Guy Carbonneau. But Ron Hextall is jammed right up against the net. He ended up dislodging it.
Well, Carbonneau will draw with Sutter. We hope you're enjoying this game tonight. Boy, it's been tightly contested right from the start. Courtnall moving in and Prop right after it. Couldn't center. And it is Walter tipping back, and Mark Howe able to pivot away with it. Howe with a pass on to Brian Prop. Up the wing it comes to Sutter. If they hurry, it's a 2-on-1. Sutter in. Takes the drive. Now creeps around behind the net. Ron Sutter takes a look. Pulls away to the corner. Looks for Prop. Gives to Samuelson. Drive is deflected away to the glass by Walter. Loose puck scooped right up and held by Patrick Roy. 7:06 to go in the third period.
Boy, such good pressure by the Flyers. Craig Ludwig, uncharacteristic of Craig Ludwig. He left his feet and went down to try and block a shot. That's when Ron Sutter went wide. But you may have noticed the play that stopped this hockey game. Shel Samuelson's shot went off Ryan Walter's toes, off the toes of the skate and into the corner. The Montreal Canadiens have blocked so many shots in this series. In the 2 games in Philadelphia, games 3 and 4, 31 Flyer attempted shots ended up being blocked by Montreal player, defenseman.
Another big face-off. And Keith Acton will be representing the Flyers, Scrudland, Montreal. Kerr and Eklund, the wingers. Chikrin and Karkner are in back. Bob Gainey and McPhee are the wingers for Brian Scrudland. And the defense pair has been often used tonight, Ludwig and Chelios. Chelios had almost 20 minutes of ice time in the first 2 periods. 19 minutes and 43 seconds out of 40 minutes, Chelios was out there. No power plays in this game since the last 4 minutes of the second period. We have 7:06 to go here in the third. Ludwig cancels out Kerr. Eklund comes by to get it, overskated and returns. Kelly Eklund pivoting from Scrudland, meets up with Ludwig, still trying to pull away. Eklund behind, centered one out in front. Kerr had a whack at it, but the puck did not even get as far as his stick. Now back up with it comes Mike McPhee. Sized up by Chikrin. McPhee drops it to the corner, and Gainey moves in. Hextall, a weak paddle, as Gainey flips one that pops back to Kerr for the Flyers. Had it checked off his stick by Chelios, and the 2 of them go at it again. Now it is Scrudland to get it. Chikrin is staring in the direction of McPhee for some reason or other. The fans reacting as Svoboda fires one wide. Around it comes near Poulin. Chelios hung up in the referee's skate trying to play it, and then Derek Smith is hit hard. Still in the zone is Gainey, so Chelios has to wait. Now paddles one back deep, and Chikrin will go to get it. 6 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the third. 1-0 in favor of the Flyers as Poulin banks it back off to Sinisetto, starts it ahead for Derek Smith. Lost it to Bobby Smith of the Canadiens. Poulin tries to lock up Naslund. Puck chopped back out by Chikrin now, and Svoboda will go gliding back to take it from Patrick Roy. Peter Svoboda, with under 6 minutes to play, lays it out on the stick of Naslund. That's Naslund trying to creep by, turns away from Howe. Naslund a pass, and Keane is taken down at the net mouth. Svoboda rolls it around, and Bobby Smith is there, and the net has become dislodged, and the Canadiens are protesting that it was the Flyers who did it. 5 minutes, 41 seconds left in the third. Score hasn't changed. Let's return now to our Sports Channel studios.
Thanks, Mike. Immediately following the game, stay tuned for Sports Nightly. We'll have the complete Stanley Cup report. Darryl Burnett will be here with the rest of the night in sports. Michael Jordan and the Bulls opening their playoff series with the New York Knicks. Andre Dawson needs more knee surgery. And the commissioner has the full report on Pete Rose. Those stories, all the scores, highlights, and more after the game on Sports Nightly. Let's go back to the Forum in Montreal.
Well, somebody didn't quite get around to finishing their breakfast this morning. They brought some raw eggs to the Forum, and that's why the play has been stopped, or at least why it hasn't resumed. It was originally stopped because of this. I take that back. This is the beginning of it. Mike Keane went into the net, but after he came out, the net was dislodged. Ron Hextall fell back into the post, pushed it off of its little pegs. But there are a couple of broken eggs that are on the ice now. You don't think Ron Hextall has had a lot of traffic in his face tonight, as much as any playoff game that he has played in this year. That's Mike McPhee right there.
So even here we have debris tossed out that will slow the game down. Both teams get a chance for a breather here. I don't know that you could say that either team was really carrying the action and carrying a lot of offensive opportunities at the time. Could you, Bill? I'm trying to hastily search back in my own memory bank whether this might disadvantage one club against another.
Oh, I think any time that there's a rest right now, it has to help the Flyers, Mike. That it takes away any type of momentum that Montreal has. Flyers are in a nice spot now that they're down to about 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes and 41 seconds to go. And it's tough to go into a prevent defense when you've got half a game to go. But now all the Flyers need to do is continue to chip the puck out when they get it near their blue line. They don't have to make any plays. They've got to play tight in the neutral zone. And sure, if they get a chance to make a high percentage play offensively, they're going to do it. But they were down to just a little over 5 minutes to play. And all we've talked about in this series has been Montreal's defensive play. The Flyers have just about matched them. You know, Montreal hasn't walked away in these hockey games. And the Flyers have not had the luxury of the lead, but we have seen how the Flyers have been able to tighten up with the lead. Patrick Waugh is the reason that Montreal has been held in this here in the third period.
Yeah, he has done a tremendous job tonight, and Ron Hextall as well. Hextall's big saves have been not only here in the third, but the ones that seem more significant now are the ones in the first and second. Longtime Canadiens great Dickie Moore watching here tonight.
You know, I should know what number Dickie Moore used to wear when he played here, but it escapes me. I used to watch him when I was a kid. One of the Montreal greats. Obviously, when you've won, is it 22 Stanley Cups, Mike, or is it 23? I guess in one book it's 23 because the Canadiens won the Cup before they were in the National Hockey League, but it's a pile of Stanley Cups.
The debris cleaned up. Hextall ready to resume his position in the goal crease. Flyers use Sutter, Mellenby, and Dave Poulin. Samuelson and Howe. Carbonneau, Walter, and Courtnall up front. In back, Green and Svoboda. They're ready, and off the face-off, Courtnall moves in, and a backhander, and a pad stop made by Hextall. And there'll be another stoppage of play. Not much steam on it, but the positioning, Courtnall could not have found any better. He was in the slot.
But Ron Hextall didn't want to take any chances by staying back in his goal. He came right out to challenge Courtnall, and that has been Ron Hextall's trademark for most of his career, challenging.
Here's Svoboda. Wrist shot blocked away by Hextall. In to get it is Ryan Walter. Hit hard by Samuelson. Puck to Courtnall. Tried to reach Green, who had come in front. Now it is Courtnall again, flipping one. Mark Howe right there to get it. A pass that went by Mellenby and back down. Svoboda striding back after it. Right on him is Ron Sutter, working him over all the way. Svoboda just drops it on back to Green. 24 shots Montreal, 20 shots for the Flyers. Clock ticks down to 5 minutes and 8 seconds left in the third. 1-0 the Flyers ahead on a goal over an hour ago by Derek Smith. A second period goal. Closer to an hour and a half ago almost now. Puck flung off by Roy, and it pops right near Jeff Chychrun. And Chychrun unwinds one off the boards. Roy stops it, and it is scooped up by Larry Robinson. Then along to Bobby Smith. Drops it back to Green. Pressure descending in the form of smaller clock numbers on the Canadiens. Robinson banks one. Hextall in back to get it. Leaves there for Terry Kartner. And Kartner turned one along into Robinson and Sinisalo, kept alive by Keane. Chychrun is without a stick. Now Keane moves in. Still they work on it. Kartner trying to get a freeze of play. And the puck came back over to Naslund. That's Naslund back to Chelios. Hurries it to Naslund. His shot is deflected wide. Rebound Robinson to Smith. He scores!
Another time, in another place, maybe Dennis Morel would have blown down the puck when Terry Kartner was trying to smother it in the corner. But in this month of May here in the Montreal Forum, he decided to leave the play alive. And that was the worst thing that could happen to the Flyers, because one of the Flyers had lost his stick. That was Jeff Chychrun. Dave Poulin was able to get his stick to Jeff Chychrun. Didn't matter that Poulin shot left. There's Poulin in the middle of your screen without a stick. But Poulin can't do very much right now to defend. Matt Naslund's weak shot went wide behind the net. Larry Robinson dumped it out to Bobby Smith. And Bobby Smith crammed one upstairs. And the Flyers have been caught. It's 1-1 now.
4 minutes to go, regulation time. Chelios back to get it. Dumps one along to Matt Naslund. Robinson will get one assist. We'll get the other one for you as Bobby Smith moves back in and is defended to the boards by Pelle Eklund. Wells is there watching too. Naslund trying to reach in. Jay Wells as well trying to get there, and then Wells knocks Naslund down, and the puck wound up being frozen. So there'll be a face-off near Ron Hextall. Naslund and Robinson get the assist. Robinson gets the primary assist on Bobby Smith's goal, second of the series, seventh of the playoffs.
You know, Ron Hextall went down because he anticipated Larry Robinson trying to jam the puck right back out at his feet. Watch this. The puck will come out, and it looked like Robinson was just going to backhand it for the net. So Ron Hextall tried to defend against the far post. It's a natural reaction. Robinson looked like he was going that way, but Robinson crossed him up and passed it out to Bobby Smith, who has tied this game.
Well, it is Corson with Gainey and Richer for Montreal. Chelios and Ludwig in back. Mark Howe takes care of Gainey so that Samuelson can play the puck. Bounced up high and along for Ron Sutter. Couldn't get it by Corson. Then along to Dave Poulin, who's able to roll it back out. Chip change for the Flyers. Pop comes out to join Sutter and Mellenby. Chelios passes off Corson, but to Samuelson. Samuelson dumping it along to Mellenby. Scooped it right back in deep, and Chelios goes back to get it. Hammered to the boards by Sutter. Puck down out for Mellenby, but back checked away by Stéphane Richer. Richer chugging back out, has Gainey alongside. Richer locked up by Mark Howe and spun around. Samuelson comes by, and Richer able to kick it along to Corson. Corson tries to get a pass away, but it's locked up by Mellenby. They continue the battle of the boards, and Dennis Morel stops play with now 2:55 to go in the third of this hard-fought 1-1 tie. It is deafening inside the Forum, and it had been pretty quiet up until a couple of minutes ago.
Pretty true to form. The Montreal Canadiens never did open it up and take any chances. They were under the gun. Patrick Roy held them in this hockey game. The Flyers had a number of chances to take a bigger lead, a number of great chances, but Patrick Roy answered them all. And Montreal, in its sometimes cumbersome style offensively, just kept on pecking away until they got one.
Puck brushed along, and Dave Poulin is there. Flipped one that changed direction at the bench, and Mellenby tried to get by. Scott Mellenby brushed it further, and we get a whistle and halt to play. Offside is the call against the Flyers. So 2:45 left, and boy, you talk about face-offs now becoming so important, and line changes too. Flyers will undoubtedly, as the Canadiens, go with a couple of good centermen, at least until a decision is evident on a face-off. This one comes to the Flyers. Terry Karkner trying to pick his way through. One-handed it to the corner, and Svoboda is back and right on him at Sinisato. Svoboda able to turn away from that attempt. Now it is McPhee losing to Chychrun, but Skrudlin tied up Chychrun, so the Canadiens can throw it back down the ice. Hextall comes out. Courtnall trying to anticipate, and the puck is turned all the way back to McPhee. McPhee fires it back off the glass, and Hextall is back to stop it. Swings it back along, but it is shouldered down by McPhee. Though picked up by the Flyers, they start back out. Derek Smith moving ahead. Hands on the wing to Sinisato, has Poulin breaking. Flips one, and it goes wide. Now it is Karkner in to get it. Took a swat from Courtnall. Karkner back deep, shouldered by Green. Puck picked up by Svoboda. Dumps it back along, and Kjell Samuelsson is right there. Caught Poulin offside with the pass, and a minute 57 remain here in the third of a 1-1 tie. Derek Smith from Sinisato at 3:53 of the second. Bobby Smith from Robinson and Naslund at 15:46 of the third. Those of you just joining us are brought up to date, but you've missed an awful lot of a good game.
You've missed a ton of contact. Boy, oh boy, this has been a hard-fought game with all kinds of bodies flying. Peter Svoboda had his helmet knocked off at least twice tonight. That's who you're looking at. He's one of the smallest competitors on the ice tonight. But man, it has been a tough contest.
Canadiens control from the face-off, and Chelios squibs one back that Mark Howe goes to play. Howe waiting behind. Takes a look and hands one off of Eklund, picked up by Carbonneau. Tried to swing it back, but it's Pelle Eklund trying to connect with Kerr, who tapped it. Chris Chelios goes back to get it and pulls up behind. Heath Acton out in front. Chelios deliberately hands back over to Robinson. Slowly back to Chelios, and it's lost, and so Acton just tosses it back. Robinson goes behind his own net. Carbonneau makes the sweep, and Robinson now starts to lead the offense. Passing over to Chris Chelios from the red line. He shovels one wide. Back to get it is Carbonneau. Dumps it along the boards, but Hextall is right there and sets it up for Mark Howe. Howe flipped one that went off the referee's skate. Centering pass from Walter, and that one is controlled by Keith Acton. Wedged off by Corson. Pelle Eklund takes it there, looks for a pass, and hands it on to Mark Howe. Down to the last 55 seconds regulation time. Howe gliding in deep. Mark Howe behind the net. Leaned down by Larry Robinson. Robinson starts it ahead, and here's a 2-on-1 for the Canadiens. Corson and Carbonneau. Carbonneau moving right in, a shot, and Hextall hangs on. And we get a halt to play, and Carbonneau, you may have noticed him with his palms upturned as if to indicate that there had been a missed signal.
What a break the Flyers got here. Carbonneau doesn't see that he has Bob Gainey all alone to his left. Will Gainey come in? See number 23 on the left just came out of your screen. Bob Gainey was so wide open. Guy Carbonneau either didn't see him or didn't hear him. So the Flyers get a break there, and Ron Hextall was able to stop Guy Carbonneau. Here's a good look at it. Man, oh man, he had the gaping net in front of him, and all Carbonneau had to do was slide it over.
Boy, that's a lot of experience out there in Gainey and Carbonneau, and even the most experienced pros sometimes don't communicate well, and I think that's what Carbonneau felt might have happened. I don't know. He seemed to be very quizzical after the play had developed.
The onus is on Bob Gainey to yell there. It is not on Guy Carbonneau to see him.
Well, Carbonneau will take this draw with Sutter. Gainey is the left winger still, and Keane on the right side. I think that may have been what Carbonneau's indication was with a palm upturned. Maybe, why didn't you yell, or at least yell loud enough I could hear? Svoboda and Chelios the defense. The Flyers go with Karkner and Jeff Chychrun. Sutter, Poulin, and Mellenby. Hextall now motioning Jeff Chychrun to move closer to the front of the goal. Dennis Morrell says, let's get play started here. Off the tie-up, Chychrun swings at it a couple of times, and up with it is Sutter. 35 seconds to go. In the third period of play, the game tied at 1. Puck popped off of Dave Poulin. Sutter can't nudge it through. Now Carbonneau goes back to get it. Carbonneau with a toss back on to Svoboda. Lays it up the wing for Bob Gainey. Hooks it right into Chychrun, but it's stolen by Keane. Fires one. Oh, save made by Hextall. As cat-like, he just flung out the catching glove and took what may have been a goal away from Keane.
Mike Keane may have been the guy that was the most surprised of anybody in the forum. Watch this right there. He intercepts that pass from Jeff Chychrun to Terry Cartner.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, darn right that was headed for the upper corner. What a save. Jeff Chychrun delayed. Brought a split second too long in getting it to Terry Cartner. But he had big 27 back there to bail him out. Ron Hextall stopped that guy. You're looking at Mike Keane. 17 seconds to go. This will be Montreal's chance right here. The Flyers need to win this draw. The face-off is to Ron Hextall's left. And with 17 seconds to go, Carbonneau wants to try and win this. Ron Sutter can really get the Flyers out of a hole and get this game into overtime if he can win this draw.
Got the two best from their teams out there to try to take this one. Carbonneau and Sutter tie up off Howe. It is Carbonneau, and then behind the net, Courtnall, down to the last 10 seconds. Courtnall wraps up with Sutter. Now it's Poulin giving it back to Svoboda. Winds up and shoots one, knocked down by Sutter. 4 seconds to go. This one is going to need sudden death overtime as the siren grows, bringing to a conclusion a thrilling third period of action here from the Forum in Montreal. Bobby Smith, the only goal of the period from Robinson and Naslund at 15:46, tied the game, and it stays tied. The shots on goal in the period. For the Canadiens, 8. For the Flyers, 6. 60 minutes won't do it. It'll take more tonight. Overtime will be coming up shortly.
It has